Our world is experiencing some really serious challenges right now. So what are the 5 things that you should know? Hey, Provident Preppers, I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Kylene. And a couple of weeks ago, we were at a community dinner and one of my friends came up to me and said, Kylene, what do I need to know? And I'm like, that God loves you? I don't know, what context are we talking about? And she said, everything is falling apart everywhere that I look. What do I need to know? What do I need to do? And it made me step back. Oh, she asked what 5 things. She wanted 5 things. And so it made me step back for a minute and think, because this is a person that I dearly love, right? And I want to be able to help her. And how do I take this and break it down into 5 things? And so Jonathan and I have spent quite a bit of time kind of talking about this and thinking about it. And we've come up with what we think the 5 things that you should do considering the insanity in our world right now. These will help you to be able to meet these challenges much better.
So Dawn, this is for you and for all of the rest. Number 1 is a risk assessment. Now, we always encourage everyone we talk to, you first have to know what you're preparing for. What challenges are we looking at that are concerning to us? So the risk assessment is number 1. What is it that we're concerned about? Then we can decide what to do about it.
Because let's talk about this. It's not the same for all of us. We live in a home in the country. If we lived in an apartment in the city, we would have totally different challenges. Okay, not totally different. There'd be some that are the same or similar.
Sure.
But we really need to look at things differently. If we lived on one of the coastal cities, we're going to have challenges there with hurricanes and some different things that we would never experience here because we're in the middle of the country and we don't have any issues with hurricanes.
Right? But we do have issues with earthquake here. Mm-hmm. So, and then we have some universal issues. So, everyone is a little bit different. You need to decide what those challenges are, what the risks are, and then we can move on from there.
And once you've completed that risk assessment, we recommend number 2, because you got to do that number 1 first, because number 2 is how do I make my home survivable? One of the big things facing us is the potential of grid down, right? Could you stay in your home without electricity? How are you going to take care of making sure that you're warm? How are you going to cook your food? How are, all of these different things. What about security, right?
Yeah.
Depending on where you live, your security risks can be very different. The city has a higher security risk, right? What are you going to do to protect your family, and how do you do it now, right? What changes can you make to your home? Do you need to add extra insulation? Do you need to perhaps beef up some of your doors, put security doors on, put some type of a warning system? I mean, what things do you think they could do?
Yeah, just any of those kinds of things. Think about your basic needs: water, food, warmth in the winter for those of us in cold climates, cooling in the summer for those in warmer climates, probably for most of us. And as Mama said, the grid down scenario kind of is the picture we usually tell people to prepare for, because that's going to encompass almost every aspect of our lives. So what can you do to make your castle secure, to make it a place where you can ride out the storm?
And then maybe you can't. Maybe it's just not possible. So you need to think about where you can go and have a plan. Because if something happens, you just can't take off and not have a place to go, right? We have to have a plan. So for instance, some of our children who live in the city, their plan is to come out here and be with us here in the country. And we have room and we have prepared for that. And so, and if something happens here and we have to evacuate, actually we have kids that live in another state that's our plan. We will go there and they're prepared to take care of us. It's really important that you kind of look at the evacuation scenario, because that's not always what you're going to need to do. Hopefully, you'll never have to evacuate. but we all need to be prepared in case we do. And like for Sam, who's headed off to school, yeah, that's the first thing he's going to need to do is evacuate and come back home.
Yeah.
Right? Because this is where we've created that castle, we've created that fortress with all the supplies that we need and the ability to stay warm and to take care of things. And one of the things we didn't mention about this was things like lights. So those hybrid lights right there, I highly recommend them because they are, you want to grab one?
Yeah.
They are solar charged lights. And so they will, all you have to do, I keep them in a window, right? And they're always charged, ready to go. We've got a lot of kids, a lot of grandkids, and nothing bad has ever happened to them. So something that's rechargeable like that, yes, you could use candles, but that fuel will run out, right? You could use batteries and that fuel will run out. But something like the rechargeable solar lights, that's a really good option. If you use a promo code Provident when you visit Hybrid Light, they give you, I think it's 20% off. So
yeah.
Just remember that promo code Provident and you'll get 20% off. Okay, now let's move into number 3.
Yes, absolutely. And that is your community relationships. And we stress this over and over because we are not prepared unless our community is prepared. And this is all about building relationships. This isn't something that you can do when everything goes bad. This is something that we're doing right now. We're building relationships. We're helping each other out. We're sharing skills. We're doing all that we can to build this community bond that will see us through whatever. We have all kinds of people in that community, from medical people, tradespeople, and so together we're much stronger than we are separately.
And this conversation was really interesting because we were at this round table, I don't know, there were 7 or 8 people there, and we were talking about the importance of community. And one of the guys, it was really funny because everybody has to have skills to offer the community, right? And we were talking about the different things that everybody has. And this one guy, he said, well, I really don't have anything to offer the community. And I was just shocked because he is a Marine, right? And while he might not be able to like cook food from scratch or do some of the things that we do, man, his skills are incredibly valuable. Everyone can have value in a community, but we need to all build our skills so that we are more valuable. And remember that it's important to sacrifice for the good of the community, because sometimes it's not an equal situation. I may be giving more than I'm actually getting, but it's okay, right? As long as everybody is working hard. But that's one thing about our community. We're not okay having somebody be a freeloader, right? We are totally fine helping each other as long as everybody is pulling some of their weight. Now, my 84-year-old mother-in-law, there's a lot that she can do, but she's not going to be able to physically do as much as like Sam, my big buff son, right? So we all contribute in different ways. She has a lot of knowledge and wisdom and skills that the rest of us don't have. So when we're looking at those skill sets, it doesn't all have to be equal, but we need to find what it is that we can do to be a valuable member of that community. Super important. Now, at that table, one of the other things that came up was bartering. And somebody said, Kylene, I bet you have a lot of liquor stored, don't you? How much liquor do you have? And I'm like, why? Well, you need it to barter. You should have like liquor and cigarettes. And for me, I only store the things that my family needs. We don't drink alcohol and we don't smoke cigarettes. So I'm not going to spend my limited resources to purchase things that I don't need. Now, what I did tell them is that if they want to barter with me, they should store chocolate, because chocolate,
Imagine that.
Imagine that. But it's true. So look at those that you're going to be bartering with. First of all, try and have whatever you need without the need to barter. But of course, something's going to come up, right? But think about the people that you are in your little community and your friends and what they might need. So you might want to do something like store alcohol, depending on your circumstances. But for me, I don't. I only store the things that my family needs.
Right. And so think about what those things are. What skills do you have to offer? What like our garden. We have a garden. We can produce a lot of produce, and that's something that we can give. So think about the things that you can give and also the things that you might need, and start building those relationships.
Okay, and then number 4 is to increase your self-reliance. So pretty much when we talked about number 2, we're talking about securing your home and making it so that you can withstand a short-term event, right? Something like the big power outage that happened in Texas, right? Where it was a few weeks and then life returned to normal. Now we're talking about a longer term event where you are going to be using up your food supply, right? What can you do to be more self-reliant? One of the things is to store a lot of basic foods, right? Make sure that you have a very full pantry so that you can make it through an extended crisis, right? And growing your garden, right? Making sure that you're producing. So if you don't ever grow a garden or produce any food on your own, you have a limited amount of food. You have a limited amount of resources that will eventually be used up. And then what will you do? As you learn to prepare and grow some of your own food, then that's sustainable. You know that apple tree, pretty much it's going to produce every single year. And so you know that you're going to have something. So anything that you can do to become more self-reliant, building those skills and strengthening your ability to take care of yourself without outside input is going to be really good.
So think about those things. Think beyond where you are right now and beyond, preparing your home. Think about long-term. What are some of the things that I could do, that I can learn, that I can gain some experience with, that's going to, again, benefit the community?
And remember, when we're talking about learning those things, that's a good way to build community, right? If somebody in your community knows how to do what you'd like to learn to do, offer to help, and let them teach you. That's a great way to build those relationships.
Yeah.
Okay, and then number 5. For me, number 5 actually probably should be number 1, but it is building my faith and my ability to receive revelation from God, because it's so important. Like, I can tell you what I think might happen, but God has the ability to really let you know what it is that you need to do. But you have to learn kind of how to be in tune with that and how to understand how to receive it. But when we look through the scriptures, there are all kinds of times when Christ turned water to wine, when the widow, he made it so that her barrel of meal and her cruse of oil didn't fail until rain fell upon the land, where he took loaves and fishes and fed thousands with them, right? There are all kinds of miracles, and I think it's really important that we don't discount those miracles, that we do what we can do to build our relationship with God and to strengthen our faith so that we can let him direct our paths.
And to me, it's been very, it's been a source of peace for me, because I see a lot of people and they are stressed about these things. They are concerned and they never know when enough is enough. And, the scriptures are pretty clear. We cheerfully do what we can do. And then we rely upon God to take care of these things. So, we do have to work. We do have to do our part. But then we know that after we've done everything we can, we have a greater source of power that can also step in.
That's right. And when in this crazy world where everything else is out of control, it's really nice to know who is in control. And now for the question of the day, what would be in your top 5 things that you would counsel your friends that we need to do to prepare for all this craziness that's going on around us?
Because there are lots of right answers here. These are our 5 answers, and I think these are applicable. Tell us what you think. Comment below. And thank you for being part of the solution.